Howdy folks, welcome to the brewery. Second last Friday before Christmas, and today I'm running the newest episode of the Whisky Jar. Haven't done a Whisky Jar for a while. I just haven't got around to it. The last Whisky Jar I did was attempted a change on the corn mash, which in the end was overall just a failure. Brew day itself was not great, the mash was not great, ferment stalled at 1022, never finished. I don't know why, but I've sat down. That brew sat here for like 4 or 5 months on the floor, and I never got around to it. I was never worried about it because I hadn't finished, and I just never really dealt with it. I've done a little bit of tidying up in the last little week or so, and I thought, no, I need to do something with it. And I was in the process of actually about to dump it, and I thought, no, I'm going to run this. Plan was to hopefully get enough off it I could make one bottle of spirit for the Brew Monsters, the beer monsters recovery day from Australia Day coming up next month. So I ran it. I got about 800 mils, but only at 20%, so that's not going to really work. So that didn't quite turn out. So that batch has been overall just a complete write-off and a failure. But what I'm looking at today is I've looked at that recipe, looked at where I think there was issues, and that was very experimental at the time, and I've adjusted it, rewritten it, and the same as then. This is designed, I'm hoping, to create a relatively simple mash that's still going to get me a really good, decent quality corn result, a good corn mash, something a bit more authentic as opposed to just doing, you know, UJSSM and just soaking some sugar water in some cracked corn. Gets a decent result, but I'm just looking for something that's going to get a little bit more authenticity, a little bit more depth, hopefully a little bit more depth of flavour underneath it, without being a complete pain in the arse to do. So what I'm running with is 1 kilo of, this is for a 23 litre batch, we're running 1 kilo of Voyager Schooner as the barley, which will give us some diastatic power. I'll be running 2 kilos of Gladfield's flaked, no sorry, not flaked, Gladfield's malted maize, which was cracked. I used this last one, this is the bulk. I'm using less of this, I'm using 2 kilos, last one I used 4. I'm also going to mill this with the barley, make it a bit finer, hopefully get a little bit more access to the goodness in that. To that, we'll be adding 2 kilos of flaked torrefied maize, flaked corn. Last batch was 1 kilo. This stuff readily converts and will give good flavour, so I'm upping that to 2 kilos, trying to balance up the difficult with what I know will work. Half a kilo of pale rye. Need rye for a little bit of spice and peppery kick in the back end of our bourbon. I'm gonna mill that. I'm gonna mash it up. At the end of the mash, I'll boil up, and I'm gonna add some dextrose. Exactly how much I don't know. Could be 2 or 3 kilos. It's going to depend on how this conversion goes. So I'm aiming for original gravity of about 1070. It gets about 8 to 9% ABV in the mash that we're going to run. That will get me a nice amount of alcohol in the end product, and a good start towards, you know, building up a decent amount of stock to work with. So I'm going to get this stuff milled. Join me shortly when we get the mash on. Righto folks, got the grains milled, got the grain bag in the pot ready to go. You can't see down here, got the controller set. I'm running the pump, you hear the pump going. it's going to recirculate constantly. It won't turn off, and the heating is being controlled, the element's being controlled by the temp controller. I'm taking a reading here on the inlet, so I'm measuring the actual temperature of the water coming into the top of the mash, and I'm getting a reading here of around 3 degrees lower than what I'm getting on the outlet, so that's alright. I've adjusted for that. So I've got the temp controller set to about 60.5 degrees, so it will run up to 60.5 and the controller will turn off. I know the element will come up about another degree before it actually stops bringing the heat in, so that's fine. So I'm sitting at 63, 64 degree coming in there. I know from experience with the old 3V system and running a very similar setup, that the fluctuation of 3 degrees here in the inlet, which is what I'm going to get from heating, from the time the heating kicks in when it's cooled to when it comes up, stops, and then rises a little bit, it's about a 3 degree fluctuation. But I know that 3 degree fluctuation is going to be very minimal fluctuation actually in the grain bed, and I know 63, 64 at the top here is going to get me about about 2 degrees lower in the mash bed, 1 to 2 degrees. So I'm going to be sitting the mash bed somewhere around 61, 62 degrees fairly steadily, and I'm more than happy that I want to get good fermentability out of this. Certainly lower than I'd normally mash any beer. I might get down 63, 62, but right down the very low 60s. Something I'm reserving for this where I just want to get as much alcohol as I can. I want to get as much sugar out of this mash. So we get the grain in. Now that's just our milled grain, so that's the schooner, the malted maize and the rye. Get this in, and then I will put in the flaked corn. Now the malted corn has ground up nicely in the mill. It was a little bit of an effort for the milk. Wasn't completely excited about it, but I got through without too much issue on just the standard, my standard gap, which is about credit card width. So I haven't had to play around with that. At the end, I end up with about half a dozen full kernels of corn, which wouldn't go through. So that's no problem at all. Not an issue. Alright, so got that in. Alright, and I've got my 2 kilos of flake corn. Put that straight in. And hopefully this will all just mash nice without any problem. I'm hoping, I'm thinking like with the ratio it's going to be a little bit better, especially after that last batch. I think it was too much of the malted corn and not enough of anything else to sort of play around with it. I possibly could have tried some enzymes, but I'm trying to do this without the need for enzyme if I can. I think some of the old dry enzyme wouldn't hurt with the ferment. I did try it in the ferment when it wasn't moving, but I think the issue with that was really the actual mashing process and the conversion I got from, or didn't get from that. So hopefully this will be a better outcome. So that's in. Get the lid on, hold some temp. That's it. She's just going to recirculate now in that low 60s, 61, 62 degrees. It's a reasonably steady flow. That should keep things nice. See if we can get a little bit of a deep mash reading. Yeah. That's getting me about, showing me about 60, about 60.5 degrees, sitting in the grain bed, which is quite fine. The heat's just pumped on, so it's going to come up a little bit. So I'm very happy with that. All good. So I'm going to go and get organised for this little Christmas event. Just let this do its thing until I get back. So I will see you then. Righto folks, it's been about an hour and a half since this started. I've been out, so I've just walked in, so I haven't even checked anything. Controller tells me it's sitting on 62 degrees. Just want to confirm where we're at. Yeah, 64. So we're keeping that sort of 2 degree difference, which is fine. So I just want to have a mash is nice and clear that's there. The grain bed doesn't seem to be overly compacted, which is a good sign. Hopefully that indicates that we've been getting, you know, decent flow through. And good circulation and good conversion. So let's grab the old refractometer. Grab ourselves a bit of a reading here on how we travel. Alright, that's about 1042. Which I'm pretty happy with. I don't exactly know what I was actually aiming for, but a little bit of a boil down with some sugar. I think we're going to get to where our target is, so that's all good. So right now I'm just going to let this run for about 10 minutes, let that grain bed just settle again. Let this wort clear up a little bit, then I'll pull the bag and we'll get a bit of a boil on. And in the meantime I'm going to sit down and I'll have a look at these numbers and see where it's travelling. And I'll come back shortly. We'll have a bit of a look at how we're travelling, where we ended up, what numbers we're getting, and what we're going to add to this. Righto. That's mashing done. We started to get some clarity on the water again. So she started to settle back with the bed. Now I've just run through the numbers and target gravity pre-boil was 1036. So a few points over, but I am 3 or 4 litres under initial volume. I didn't check the initial volumes that I need. I just went with filled about 30, well, I think about 33 litres of water in here, and just went for it, knowing I could top up at the end if I needed to. So it looks like I will probably need to top up to get my pre-boil volume, but the numbers tell me by putting in the amount of water that I would appear I was short, I should be pretty much bang on my target numbers, which means I have achieved my target brew house efficiency of 63 degrees, which I am more than happy with for this mash and for the ingredients. With the amount of corn in there, I wouldn't have expected Well, I didn't expect to get any more than that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So straight out of the bucket. That's all good. So that tells me I'm about 25 there. I'll get a little bit out of this bag. So yeah, 4 litres is going to get me pretty close to what I'm after, so I'm reasonably happy with that. So I'm going to bring this to a boil now. I'm going to boil it for about 15-20 minutes. Just enough to make sure she's all pasteurised. We've got rid of any bugs. And I'll add me sugar in. So it looks like I'm going to need 2 kilos. I've been out due to the fact that there was a million cars down the road. Everyone's doing their Christmas shopping. And I had to go to Woolies. I just grabbed 2 kilos of fucking white sugar. I wasn't frigging around going to Big W to get dextrose. So thank you, Woolies. I now can't get bloody dextrose at the supermarket. I've got to go to bloody Big W. So we'll rinse this bag a little bit and continue on. And I've got to say, apart from the bit of water I've just spilled on the floor then, there is no water. There's no water on the floor from the mash. So the recirc system is working and it's leak free. Grain retention system, on the other hand, is being problematic. All good. Righto. We are transferred to the fermenter. We've got touch over 23 litres in the fermenter, and there's probably still a bit left in the kettle. So we've nailed our volumes, no problem. Now let's see where we go for gravity. And we're looking for 1070, and I'm going to call that 1068. So we're pretty close. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly how much. I'll have to pull the fourth bottom out, but I've only just gone below the fourth bottom, so there's a good chance there's still 3 to 5 litres of recoverable wort still in the mash tun. So I'm not at all concerned about that. 1068. For call it 23 litres in the fermenter. Gets us brewhouse is about 60.5. Well, I bumped that up to, let's say 26, just to see where that sits at. That's 68. 27 litres is 70%, 71. So I'm pretty confident we've got there without any drama. So yeah, pretty happy with that all round. So we've got good conversion with the corn, which is what I was after. As I said, because what we're chasing here now is a target ABV of around 8%. Now that's if we get down to 1008. We may well get below that. We might get down to 1002. So I don't think getting 8% ABV is going to be an issue. And if I can get 8%, I'm really happy. So as I said, if I pull 20 litres off the fermenter into the boil, that's at 8%, that's 1.6 litres of pure alcohol. That's 4 litres at 40%, so that's nice. That's nice for a single run. But the main thing is that was simple, no mucking around. I really didn't touch it. Mashed in, mash temp, and let it go. I said I went out. It sat for an hour and a half, probably close to 2 hours in the end, that mash. I didn't have to touch it, it's just done its thing. I added 2 kilos of white sugar as per the recipe, and we've got our target gravity. We're at 1042 pre-boil. So even if we just went with that, that was going to pull us somewhere around 5% alcohol, which is more than acceptable for a bourbon wash. That's around the percentage that most big distilleries are aiming at. So that's not, yeah, not a bad number. That's more than workable. The extra sugar is just to boost that alcohol up. Big thing of corn is, of course, is the flavour. Now, that's initially very sweet because there's, you know, apart from the sugar from the corn and the malts, there's 2 kilos of plain sugar in there. But there is a very good corn flavour there, sitting there nicely. It's quite tasty. So yeah, I think that's going to go work. That should work really well as long as we can get it to ferment. So I said I've got 23 litres in the fermenter. I'm going to drop some nutrient onto that in just a second. I'm then going to drop some yeast on it. This is the yeast I'll be dropping on it, USW6. This is getting a little bit old, this batch, but it is revitalising. It's not creaming up as quick as it normally would, but it is doing so. I'll give this another half an hour just to make sure it's revitalised properly. Then I'll dump that on. We'll get that in the fridge and we'll set temperature about 22 degrees and let it do its thing till after Christmas. So we'll come back next on this one when I'm actually looking to run it and see how it all pans out, how it ferments, what numbers we look at, and then big question, how it runs on still day. So that's it. So guys, any comments and questions, stick them down the bottom, particularly around, you know, the process of the mash. As I said, looking to find an easy process that produces, you know, a good quality corn mash. If this works, I may follow this up with basically the same, but just by increasing the numbers a little bit and getting rid of the sugar altogether. Just using more, you know, just a higher amount, still the same ratios, if it works. We'll see. So all the Patreons, guys, thank you for your support. I say it all the time. You know, if it wasn't for Patreon, I wouldn't be able to play around with all the things I play around with on the channel. So that support's very important. There's a link down the bottom to Patreon. You jump on there, have a look, see what it's all about. If you're subscribed, thumbs up. If you're not, hit the subscribe button down the bottom. Tick hit the bell, get notified whenever any new videos come out. You don't miss anything that way. Keeps you up to date. And if you like what's going on in the video, give us a thumbs up. But anyway, that's me, Little John. So till I see you in the next video, cheers guys.